Welcome to part 2 of the Exchange 2016 installation video series. In this video we're going to look at installing the prerequisites for Exchange 2016 before we proceed with the actual installation of Exchange. You can see that I've downloaded all the files here, and I've already joined my machine to the domain just to speed things up a bit. So in the prerequisites, because we are installing the mailbox role only, we need to obviously first install PowerShell requirements that's needed for IIS, etc. And so you can download this off Microsoft's website or any of my blogs, etc. and literally paste it into PowerShell. And it'll basically now go and install all the roles and features that you needed to install. And then it should come back and ask us to either reboot, or it should say no reboot at the end. I normally find that once you've installed this, to do a reboot, and then after this we basically then do the UCMA runtime, Visual C++ 2013, and then I'll do .NET 8. .NET 8 works with CU15, hence me installing it. But Server 2016 does come with version 4.6 installed, and the legacy versions I didn't install manually. So let's just wait for this to finish. It goes pretty quickly. Obviously, the more powerful the machine you have, the faster things happen. If your disks are faster, if you've got like 96 gigs of RAM assigned to the machine and 24 CPUs, etc., then you shouldn't have an issue with speed or installations or copying, etc. So UCMA runtime is required for unified messaging, and even though on the 2019 series you don't use it in Exchange, you still need to install it, which is obviously a bug, because on the release of 2019 RTM you still had the option for unified messaging, but when you clicked on it, it gave you a page error. Right, so we are almost done with our installation. The other installations are pretty quick. .NET 4.8 generally requires a reboot after you install it, so when you click the finish button it comes up and asks you, which we'll go through. And UCMA shouldn't ask for a reboot. Just depends on what's happening on the background in the OS. And the Visual C++ is actually pretty straightforward. Next, finished. Once you've accepted the licensing terms of the installation. Right. So you can see here we're installing the RSAT tools, meaning that we can access Active Directory snapping from the MMC, and we don't have to then log onto a domain controller, etc. to do that. So as you can see, it says restart required, no. Everything was successfully installed, so we can proceed to UCMA runtime 4, and it takes a couple of seconds to launch. There we go. And then it's basically also just a next, and then finish. So you can see, next, you accept the license term, install. Basically it does a file verification. Now if there are open files, maybe from third-party vendors like Screen Connect or LabTech or other applications, it will come up and it'll say to you that it needs to first close those before you can actually proceed. But in this case, this is a vanilla OS. It's got nothing on it, and the installation should proceed without an issue. And you can see it's basically installing Microsoft Link Server 2013 prerequisites, if you haven't noticed, and then it installs your API. And we are now finished with the installation. Okay, this one didn't prompt me, and now we can do Visual C++ 2013, and successful. And the final piece of all of this before we can proceed with CU15 is launching .NET 4.8. You can head over to the Microsoft Exchange support matrix. Support matrix tells you exactly what version of .NET is supported with what version of Exchange. The newer version of .NET is not supported on legacy versions, Exchange 2010, etc. But from the latest CUs on 2016, I think it was from CU12 and up, we were able to install .NET 4.8, and it will become a requirement going forward on the future releases of Exchange Server and the future releases of the cumulative updates that they release. Right, so this one does take a few seconds to extract. I've noticed that if you're running a machine with antivirus, and it does take a bit longer, but this machine, like as mentioned, is vanilla OS, and it again does a file verification, and it then should start installing once it's completed its verification. So as you can see, it's saying that there's open files, and it needs to update. So generally I click yes. It should prompt again, and then on the third attempt it should go through. Right. So it's probably going to pop up again now to say that it needs to close the files. Okay, so now it's busy installing .NET 4.8. Installation of this doesn't take too long. The speed that you're seeing here is the same as what I'm seeing on machines with 80 gigs, 96 gigs, 64 gigs of RAM on the machine with 16 CPUs plus. Right, so we should almost be done, and then we can reboot, and then once this is done we can proceed with the installation of Exchange 2016. It does take a few seconds to do the installation. Right, so what I'll do is I'm going to stop the recording now, because you get the gist of installing the prerequisites. This might take a little bit longer than 5 minutes. This is not the fastest machine, but in part 3 of the video we will then start with the Exchange 2016 CU15 installation using the GUI method. Thank you so much for watching.